Hello. Samantha, if you don't mind, just kind of give me a brief introduction of yourself.
Sure. My name is Samantha Chung. I am 33 years old. I live in Los Angeles, California with my 2-year-old son and my husband and our 2 cats. I have been raised in Los Angeles. This is my home. It's all I know. I own a daycare. This city is just it's so near and dear to my heart, and everything that's been going on the past week has been extremely devastating for not just myself and my family, but for the city as a whole. It's just been
Yeah.
a lot.
Samantha, I'd love for you to share kind of a little bit more about when you got word of the fires, what happened, and how you found out that someone in your family were affected.
Yeah. So I was at my daycare on Tuesday, I believe, and we got word on social media. We're like, there's a fire in Palisades. It's like, wait, what? And then as the day went on, the news got crazier around that. And it was just, I'm not sure anyone really knew what was going on unless you were there. We didn't really know. And then later that evening, my husband and I were doing bedtime routine with our son, and we had the news on. And they're discussing what's going on, and like we're seeing actual visual pictures and videos, and we're like, oh my gosh. And then they mentioned Altadena, and I like immediately went into like crisis mode. And I'm like, wait. So I'm calling and texting my aunt who's not responding. And so I tell my dad, call him, and I'm like, hey, I'm seeing this on the news. Could you please find out if they're okay? My dad somehow is always able to get through. So he was able to contact my aunt, who said at the time they were okay. And then she finally texted him back and said, like, they're okay. They don't have evacuation orders. They're packed up and ready to go. And then I believe at 4 a.m, they decided to go. I'm not sure exactly if they got an evacuation order or a warning, but they left around 4. And then so we were all kind of just like sitting on the edge of our seat. Again, like no one knew exactly the devastation that was happening. And so they evacuated to come to my uncle's house in Inglewood. And it was about, I want to say noon, where my uncle had gotten word from neighbors that there was a house burning, I believe, 5 blocks down. And so him and my cousin were going to go back just to check on the house. But my other uncle, who lives a little bit up from him, said, like, you can't get through. They have National Guard out, like they're not letting anyone in. So they're like, crap, like we can't even go to check. And then I believe it was that evening around 6 that my cousin called me to tell me that their house was gone, just burned to the ground. And we just cried on the phone. I called my parents to let them know. We all cried on the phone. And we spent that evening kind of brainstorming like what we could do. My cousin who called to tell me, she's actually the one who was like, once we were done crying, she was like, I want to start a GoFundMe. And I was like, say less. Like, I have a gift of writing. So I was like, I will write something up. We've run a fundraiser through GoFundMe for my daycare before when we lost things to the rain that came a couple years ago. So I was like, I'm familiar with operating those platforms. And I actually had a mom of one of my old students who reached out. I had first posted on Facebook, like my aunt and uncle needed clothing. So we're taking clothing donations. Here are their sizes. Anything that you guys are able to give that is in good condition, we would be grateful. And so the mom from my old job, she was concerned, and she reached out and said, like, please let me know if there's anything that I can do. Like, I would love to get gift cards or anything. And I'm like, let me kind of settle with them and like figure out what it is that they need, and I'll follow up. We're going to be posting a GoFundMe soon. So if you're interested in donating to that, like I'll have that link. And she was like, absolutely. She's like, no rush. She's like, I know that a lot of people are using SupportNow, which was interesting because I haven't been able to follow up with her to ask her why she recommended it, but she just kind of plugged it and then left it. She was like, I know a lot of people are using SupportNow. And this particular mom, her name is Sherry Yergin. She's a very intelligent woman. She's very smart. She's a lawyer. I would trust that she knows what she's talking about. So the second she said that, I was like, okay, let me look up this website. And so I went to supportnow.org, and I loved, as I was explaining to your husband, I loved the ability to add on meals. I love the ability to add the like lending a hand. So if they needed help with errands or needed help doing any of the footwork that is required in this process. And I also especially love that you guys offer the ability to give 100% of the donation to the recipient if the donor would round up.
And
That is something that we found very frustrating when we ran our GoFundMe, our fundraiser through GoFundMe for our daycare, was we got obviously most of the money, but there was still a significant amount where we were like, gosh, like we could have used that. And we
yeah.
understand like needing to have the fees. Like I'm not really sure the politics or the logistics behind that. But that was something that stood out for me when I did the research. And then also the
So
ability to
was there resistance from anyone saying, "Well, I've never heard of this support now." So how did you
yeah.
make the argument?
So I don't know. My cousin, she pretty much, excuse me, deferred to me. She's never done this. When she said, I want to do a GoFundMe, and I said, I'm familiar, I'll handle it. She was like, okay. And when I asked her, I said, well, a parent, an old student of mine, his mother recommended this website. And I kind of just listed what I said to you. I was like, these are the benefits. You can add the meals, you can add the lending a hand, you can even send gift cards. And then most importantly, they can either get 100% of the donation. Also, I told her, like, if they don't round up, the processing fee is less than GoFundMe. Not the processing, but whatever the fee is called. I'm not familiar exactly, but it's less than GoFundMe. And she was like, I trust you. Let's do it. And so we ran it. And I want to say we were 3 days into the registry and we were at about 6,000, a little over 6,000. And my brother texted me and he was like, hey, Sammy, his wife, me and Keish were talking and we were wondering, like, maybe we should transfer all the funds to GoFundMe. We wanted to know, like, why you chose this platform. And so I was like, great question. So I also gave him the same reasons. And I was explaining to him, like, we ran the fundraiser, we started the registry on Friday. And this conversation was on Monday, I believe. And I was explaining to him, like, over the weekend, I too was seeing a lot of GoFundMes. Like everyone has a GoFundMe. So I was clicking them. I was seeing like how they were doing. And it did seem like they were doing is like the numbers were like you would click in and they were asking for 20,000 and they were at 25, 30. And you're like, oh my gosh, like maybe it's the platform. But I was explaining to him, like having done this with our daycare before, I know that it's all about visibility. So if we can share and we can send the link along and encourage other people to share, encourage more donations, like that's really what it's about. And my brother was just like, oh, yeah, like he's like, I totally understand what you're saying now that you broke it down. I think it's about visibility. And then it was a couple hours later that my aunt and uncle's daughter sent us the screenshots of them on the news. And it was kind of like the universe and all of the beings that care for us were just like, this is what you guys are just talking about. This is what you guys needed. Here's more visibility. And from that point on, the fundraiser kind of just exploded to the point where we're so fortunate to have even been able to raise the goal. Because as you can imagine, like every donation counts. And as thankful as we are for all of it, there's still a need for more. So we were able to raise it whereas before we raised it, I think we were funded 90, 89%, something amazing like that. And now we've raised it from 20,000 to 40 and we're funded 56%, which is still a huge blessing. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's as devastating as this week has been. Each time I talk to my aunt and uncle to give them updates or to see how they're doing, to see what they need, they're just constantly grateful for all of these glimmers of hope and all of the support and the love and concern from so many people who they know and who they don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Samantha, last question for you. How has your experience as an organizer and customer been with Support Now?
great question. I would say my experience has been absolutely amazing. From the second I started the registry, I was on my computer signing or filling out the things that needed to be filled out. And Scott messaged me in the pop-up for like, if you need help. And he's like, hi, like I see that you set up this registry for your aunt and uncle. Like, I'm so sorry for what they're going through. Like, please let us know if there's anything that we can do to help. And so at the time we had just started the registry and I had a couple questions and he was very thorough in answering them. So the questions were answered right away. We were able to move forward. And then from there, he had let me know, like, if there's anything you need. please feel free to reach out to me via email. But everything was going so smooth. Like, everything was laid out so perfectly. Like, we didn't have any like hiccups. Like, everything was just very easy to understand and operate. And then when my aunt and uncle were fortunate to be on KTLA, he did message me and he said, "Hey Samantha, I just saw the news and this is like great publicity. Like, again, like, so sorry for what your aunt and uncle are going through. Like, if there's anything more that we could do, let us know." And so from there, my aunt, the friend who afforded them the opportunity to go on KTLA, actually needed help herself. So my aunt texted me and was like, "Hey, like, I need you to do this for my friend." And I'm like, "Say less." So I tried to do it from my phone because I was at work and I was having some issues. So I just text Scott and I said, "Hey, I'm having trouble. Are you able to help me troubleshoot?" And like, was able to troubleshoot it right away. We got Miss Dana's registry up, and you guys have just been so supportive. Like, that's something that we didn't have. And I'm sure GoFundMe is a little bit of a larger platform, but that's something that we didn't have when we were running our fundraiser there. And it's something that I've appreciated, especially being indirectly affected by this and like having so much going on and so much swirling around in my head that I'm trying to navigate and manage. It's hard to like organize things and it's hard to figure things out. And so just having that support, that direct support from both you and Jordan has been you are Jordan, you and Scott has been extremely helpful.
Thank you, Samantha. Again, I look at you in awe, and because while you said you're not directly impacted, you are, and yet you're kind of rising to the moment. There's that famous Mr. Rogers quote of "find the helpers," and you are the helper.
Awesome.
I just want to say thank you. Not just for using SupportNow. Of course, that means a lot to me as a business owner and someone who wants to serve families. But it is a thank you because it is truly people like yourself that are going to help everyone move forward in a really challenging time. And I also hope that you take the time to take care of yourself, because in moments like this, we want to be so selfless that sometimes we give and we give and we give, and we need to take here and there too.
Yeah.
I just want to say again, thank you for your leadership.
Thank you, Jordan.